Hey ladies, so today I'm coming to you with a video that I've really been wanting to do. It's kind of a rant video, sorry. It's my personal views on some of the things that we hear from newbies and judgmental people when we come into the cloth pad world, and I just wanted to kind of tell you some of these things that we hear and then give my opinion on them. So let's get started. I actually made a huge list, and there's a couple on the back too. I talked to some of my maker friends, and we talked about things that we hear and see in the community throughout the different groups, and I compiled this list, so I'm going to go over it with you. The first one that we hear all the time is, I don't want to wash blood in my washer. This one I find kind of strange because, do you guys remember when you started your period? Until you figured out how you needed to care for yourself, you bled on your sheets, your clothes, and your mom didn't go, sorry girl, I'm not gonna wash that in my washer. It's not happening. No, she put it in her washing machine, she stain treated it, and went on with life. So tell me how a cloth pad is any different. Tell me. It is no different from that. It's just a piece of material that is specifically made for bleeding. But there's no other difference besides that. You still wash it, just like your mother would have. So that's one that I just don't understand because of that, if you think back to when you first started. Next one that we hear is cloth pads are too much work. And again, they're not. That's kind of ridiculous to hear, simply because you're washing these and wearing these once a month. How is one tiny small load, seriously, it's not even a full load, it's like maybe 10 to 15 pads, how is that too much work once a month in one wash cycle? I don't get it. I honestly don't. So that one, it has no ground to stand on because it's completely ridiculous. The next one is that cloth pads are unclean and unsanitary. This one's kind of funny because when we were talking about this, the makers and I, we were thinking, I don't understand this because most women do menstruate at some point in their life, and there's a lot of women on the planet, so does that mean we're all unclean or something down there? Okay, so basically, yes, we do have bacteria down there, good and bad. That is normal. That's how our entire body is made up, good and bad bacteria. But this is completely normal. This is how nature intended for your body to dispose of your uterus lining. So it's coming from within you, something that your body made and is getting rid of it. It's not something that went in, got all gross, and then came back out. Your body made it and is now releasing it. So I don't find it unclean or unsanitary. I would much rather, deal with my stuff than clean up vomit. Much easier, not as gross, less bacteria. So that one I don't get, but that's personal. I'm not grossed out by much, so that may just be me. Next one that we get is China cheapies. People think that when they order from a work-at-home mom, that the fleece is the actual side that they bleed on, and it's opposite. So I just want to kind of touch base on that because that is one that we do hear, that we do have confusion with, and I don't want that to be an issue why someone tries, doesn't like, and then doesn't continue trying cloth, because they're completely different from work at home made. So just wanted to mention that. Next thing we hear is women worrying about if they're going out of the house while they're on their cycle, trying to use cloth, or if they're traveling. These are valid questions. These are ones that you should absolutely ask. But they are very easy to work around. basically, when you think back, using disposables, we had a stash in our purse and a stash in our car along with home. Now take those 3 steps in places and replace them with reusables. And add a wet bag into your purse or your car. Done. Complete. You're set. That's all you have to do. Because even if we were on our cycle leaving the house, we would still pack a couple extra in our purse if we knew we were going to be out for a while. It's the same concept. But you do have your backup in your purse and your car. So that one is really easy to get around. If you're traveling for a couple of days or something like that, yes, I kind of get that being a bother and a worry, but get a bigger wet bag and just hold on to it until you get home. It's not going to go gross or mildew or anything like that. Just make sure you leave it open so it can air dry. And when you get home, just treat it and wash it and be done. Okay? Super easy. The next thing is staining. I think that was one thing that people thought would be too much work. Different methods help with different people. My personal favorite is OxyClean. I know some won't recommend it because if you have OBV that's been custom dyed, it can mess with the dyes apparently and fade them. I haven't experienced that, but that's just my go-to because it's just the best. I can soak it, be done, and ride off into the sunset. Some do like to have a stain stick. I personally don't have one because I don't see the need, but I know some people do like to, especially if they have like pesky stains that are not coming out. So yes, staining can happen. It usually happens on lighter fabrics and definitely on blue fabrics. The darker the blue, the less you seem to show or the stain actually appear. Lighter blues, it generally always appears, okay? So just a heads up on that. We're told that cloth pads smell. And when you're out and about, people are going to smell them. Again, that's insane. A lot of women have actually commented on the fact that they don't have a smell since switching to reusables. So that kind of tells you right there that that's absolutely insane. It is not true. You have worse issues with disposables because of the chemicals than the fabrics that are up against you with reusables. You will not have a smell. Even if you do the wet bag after you use them and you put them in a wet bag, they do not smell. Okay? They don't. As long as when you rinse them, you let them air dry first and then put them in your wet bag, they don't smell. They just don't. Okay, next is people ask how they stay in place. This is another valid question. Totally okay to ask. By all means. It is kind of a strange concept. Most makers, I think there's only like one company that doesn't use snaps, but for the majority, all of us use snaps. They're plastic resin snaps, and sometimes they're coordinated with the color on the pad. I've only seen one maker who uses buttons. Haven't tried that though. Seems like too much work for me, but I know it's out there. But for the most part, it is snaps. They're super easy. You snap it on, kind of like those button-down, like Western shirts, the shiny snap, like the metal snaps. It's like that, but plastic, basically. Super easy. And they stay in place because of the fleece. It causes like a friction between your underwear to keep it from moving. So that is how a cloth pad works. When we get is, can't you feel the cloth pads? This is kind of a personal preference thing, and personal experience. So the thinner the pad, the less you're going to feel, is usually the case. The thicker, obviously, you're going to feel. But for the most part, you should feel comfortable in whatever you wear. You may be a person who prefers thicker pads because you feel more secure, and that's totally fine. That's you. More power to you. Go buy all the thick pads. But if you're someone who prefers to have thinner pads, then there's definitely makers out there for that, and they're easier to hide the thinner they are, especially if you have something that's form-fitting like yoga pants or anything like that. the thinner pads are easier to hide. You don't have like that pad line. And I know a lot of people do worry about that. And if you're that worried about it, I would suggest going to cups for that duration of wearing that outfit. But otherwise, just go thinner. The thing is, with the thinner pads, if they're backed in WinPro, they are usually bulletproof. Like, nothing's gonna get through them. So it's not something that you have to worry if you go thin that you're losing protection, because it's usually not the case, okay? My husband is the next one. He likes to call me a hippie because I use reusables, and I want to smack him every single time, and I usually do. Because I do not feel that I'm a hippie. Just because I use reusables does not mean that I'm a flower child or dancing in the rain naked or anything like that. I'm just simply trying to do something that's better for my body. So I don't get where he's coming from. He's just a weirdo. But we do hear that from time to time from people who, when they first hear about it, they're like, what? Why would you do that? Do you need money for tampons? No, dude. I'm cool. I got beautiful pads at home. We're good. I don't hear my husband. Hold on. He may be listening to me. Nope, we're good. Okay. Cleaning is easy. I kind of touched base on this earlier. They are not hard to clean and keep up with. If you soak them, after 24 hours, 48 hours, you pop them in the wash as normal laundry. Usually they recommend to do warm to cold or one of the two. And you can dry them or you can air dry them. Personal choice. Here's one that we do see quite a bit. Women are concerned with what others are going to think when they find out that they use cloth pads. Sorry. I don't care what other people think. It's my body. If I choose to use them, by all means, that's my choice. And whatever you say isn't going to change that. So I don't have an issue with it, but I do know that some people are very worried about that, especially the younger girls, when they're so impressionable. And let's face it, the kids these days are really kind of cruel. So I get that worry. But I think we should just lift each other up and say, you know what, screw you. I have beautiful pads, and I have these dirty little secrets in my panties that you don't even know about. You don't need to know about or care about. And that is that. It's my personal opinion, but that's just the way I am. So I say screw them. They don't have an opinion. They can say it all they want, but it doesn't mean it needs to stay in my brain. It can go in one ear and out the other, sister. Okay, next one is, one that we do here is that husbands, spouses, boyfriends, partners, domestic partner, parents don't support it and therefore will not purchase or give the money to the woman or female or whatever you are. Whatever you, yep, give me a second. Whatever you feel you are, I guess, because I know there are people who have the parts but don't, what's the word, you guys? But don't associate themselves as being female. We'll just go with that, okay? So whatever you are, and you have menstrual fluid, and you don't have a partner that supports you or a parent that supports you, it can be really hard, and I totally get that. It's very frustrating. And I'm being interrupted. Hold on. Sorry, I'm back. Mom life. Okay, so back to support from your significant other or your parents. I hate that an outside party would be unsupportive to the point that the woman cannot therefore have a cloth pad stash and do it for herself. It really kind of upsets me because I don't feel that's their call to make. So honestly, I wish that more of these outside influences would be supportive, because at the end of the day, it's not their body, and if they're daughter is trying to make a better life for herself in the future by using reusables, I don't feel that a parent or the partner should have any say in that, because it's not their call. Especially men, don't get me started. I don't see how they have any say. They're not bleeding, so you can't tell me what I can and can't do with my menstrual cycle. Okay? Oh, here's another one. I don't know where to start. We get this a lot, and we all started somewhere, so we all understand, and we try our best to kind of guide you through the process. It's kind of like its own video, really, but it's a thing where you need to take what you're already using. If you're using pads, you need to take the length and style that you already are using that works for you, measure it, and go based off that measurement. If you're a front bleeder, then just look for makers that have more of a front bleeder pattern, or if you're back bleeder, then turn it the other way, or if you're an all over bleeder, just get a symmetrical. So it's got to start with what you're currently wearing and are comfortable with, and go from there, okay? But there are tons of ladies in the groups that are more than happy to help you. Not just here on YouTube with different channels. There's other people that you can actually speak to about it. How and where to buy. There are tons of different selling platforms. You've got Etsy, Hyena Cart, Shopify, Big Cartel. There's a cloth pad store website with a lot of different makers. And then you've got businesses who have their own websites. And then a lot of us have actually switched to Facebook because Etsy is just extortionate on fees. And then most people don't know about, Shopify and... Is it Shopify? Yeah, I think so. Brain fart, sorry. And they don't know about Big Cartel, and they're kind of hard to navigate through those pages, so... People usually stick with Etsy or Facebook. That's just the way it is. Or usually when they're first starting, actually, they look up on Google and they see the China cheapies and think that's what their choices are. And it's not true. So, start with Facebook, really, is where I would go. Start with Facebook. Join as many groups as you can come up with. Put in cloth pad or menstrual pads or whatever, and just join whatever pops up in the search bar, okay? Some women are nervous to purchase light colored pads. I get that. It's normal. We don't want to have something beautiful stained. Usually the only time you're gonna have problems is blue. All of us agree that blue is just like the worst for staining. I don't know why, but it doesn't like it. It does not like menstrual blood. Hold on. Sorry, interrupted yet again. So blue is the biggest one for staining. Obviously your lighter colors like your pastels or your whites usually are going to stain, but they're usually easier to get stains out of too. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you want lighter colored pads, I would suggest you get them in liners or lights, because you're usually not going to have much of a flow on those kind of pads. So that's just kind of my little advice, really. Just put them on lighter absorbencies. Leaking. So a lot of people who are thinking about cloth pads constantly worry that they're going to leak. They're going to leak through and onto their underwear and yada yada. And it's just not the case. The materials used are a lot more water resistant than people think, and also you don't bleed as much as you think. I thought that I was going to bleed through stuff, that I was going to bleed off of stuff, and you start trying it and you're going, wait a second, I don't even fill up this pad. What? So I wouldn't worry about leaking. Once you find the right shape for your body and your flow, leaking is not an issue typically. So yes, it may be frustrating in the beginning, trying to find shapes that work for you, and makers that work for you, and style, and like thickness and setup and how they're sewn together. But once you figure that out, you should have no problems with leaking, honestly, at all. Another one is that people get really confused, and I get that. It is very overwhelming when you're first looking into cloth pads. It's one of those things where it's kind of like information overload and you don't know where to start, so that's where a lot of people are just so overwhelmed that they don't even think to continue in their cloth pad journey. So, just take it slow, ask tons of questions, we don't mind it, and just start somewhere. Just jump in somewhere, and we'll hold your hand the rest of the way, okay? Another one is these can be used for incontinence. If you don't like using disposables for incontinence, you can most definitely use reusable pads for incontinence. Just express to the maker what absorbency you're wanting. She doesn't even have to know what they're for. If you have a heavier incontinence, then, I mean, obviously you're going to want something that's like a moderate to a heavy. If you have a lighter one, you can just do like a liner or a light. So you don't have to tell your maker, just kind of think about what absorbency you might need and go from there. Okay, last thing I want to discuss is knowing the difference between beginner novice sewing and top quality sewing. Now, I only mention this not to be snooty, but because a lot of newbies will join like the buy-sell trade groups, and they will see pads on there being sold by beginners, beginner sewers and novice sewers that are not the greatest quality. And if they purchase that and they see it in person, they think that all pads are going to look like that. They get this horrible impression on cloth pads, and it's really unfortunate, but it happens. And I just want to express that I know a lot of you are trying to save money, especially on something that's experimental, like seeing if cloth pads work for you. But please keep in mind that when you pay for top quality, you get what you pay for. You get the nicer stuff. So take that into consideration when you're looking and trying to start somewhere. Is yes, it's totally fine to start with beginners. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't be put off by the top quality prices, because they're that way for a reason. We sell our stuff at that price for a reason. We have worked our way and worked up our skills. I'm not saying I'm top quality, but I'm saying makers that are in the game that are known, we are like that for a reason. We have worked hard to be where we are and have the quality that we have to make our customers happy. So that's the difference. I don't want to scare anyone off. I don't want to sound like I'm better than anyone. It's just, please don't be turned off if you get a pad that isn't well made or well stitched, or bunches weird, or is oblong or misshapen. Everyone starts somewhere, so just kind of take that into consideration. And while it's perfectly fine to pay for novice beginner sewing, it's also okay to pay for the top quality, because you do get what you pay for. So honestly, that is it for now. That is my entire list of things I wanted to go over. I hope you guys enjoyed this and that you're not too mad at me for expressing some of these issues. Like I said, these are just my opinions and how I feel about things, and I just really kind of want to put this out there to help people have an understanding of, I guess, a maker's view on things. So I will talk to you all again soon. Things are crazy here. I'm going to be moving, so I will talk to you all when I can, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.